This is the Torchlight single segment speedrun. I'll be using the unpatched version and the Vanquisher. The Vanquisher is your traditional ranged gal. She's got a bow to start with, and a nice ricochet spell. But that ricochet spell will get zero use after level 1 when I get my spell which allows me to XP glitch. My pet is being set to aggressive because otherwise he won't kill anything unless I'm attacking. This will allow me to reach level 2 a little quicker, which is when I set him back to little baby mode where he doesn't kill anything. I'm going back into town here to pick up a haste scroll.
Hi there.
This increases my movement speed a bit, and also slightly increases attack speed. See there, it's a 12% movement, 2% attack. And now I gotta shoot some kids, burn 30 seconds so the vendors reset their items. Just shooting away. Just shooting. And now I'm going back into the dungeon with haste on. I'm gonna try and blow through most of level 1 without killing much because the XP down here is pretty bad. But I do need to pick up a few levels before the first boss so I can use stab on him to greatly reduce the time I spend on him. Those chests there actually only give one item each, and it's usually a terrible non-magic item, so I usually just skip them. Haste with no defensive spell mastery only lasts 7 seconds, which is a huge mana waste, so I'll be trying to pick up as many potions as I can along the way. I have a severe lack of money in the beginning, but once I hit level 25 I'll be picking up like almost 100 mana potions, so I can keep up with my massive mana usage. And here on level 2 I'll be killing a bit more because this is where I actually will run into some mini bosses, which give a huge amount more experience. Like here's one right here which I almost missed, so I gotta spend some time killing him, get a great boost of experience and some potions. Like in Diablo 2, mini bosses have a great chance of dropping potions for you. Unlike Diablo 2, chests can be mimics here. They are sometimes worth the trouble to kill, but I figured since I was pretty good on potions here, I'll just skip that one. And here we're gonna be hitting level 2 by killing this Blood Scratcher the Ghastly. Like Diablo 2, they have some random enchantments to go along with it. This guy is knockback immune. That's great. Don't have any knockback spells anyway.
My mana is low.
And here we're gonna see the XP glitch in action. For some reason, when using a damage over time spell in the unpatched version, if you kill them with the damage over time, you'll get multiple experiences from it. And for some reason it's actually much more effective if you have low damage with it. So I don't upgrade the skill at all or get any more dexterity or anything. And to prevent my pet from stealing my kills and ruining my experience glitch, he is now set to non-aggressive. And he'll stay on non-aggressive for pretty much the rest of the run. except for some occasional boss fights. The other skill I picked up, which you can see on my 3 hotkey, is Stab, which does some pretty decent damage at low levels, but I stopped using it after the first boss. Basically, the first half of the run is preparing, and the second half of the run is just running straight through every level once I have my haste scrolls and level 25 skill, which gives me increase in move speed. Here I'm enchanting my pistol, hoping for a decent damage increase, but it just gives me some sockets. And I'm throwing on some defense so I can actually equip my shield, double checking to make sure it doesn't give me any dexterity to ruin my XP glitch.
You have gained a level.
The ultimate goal here is to get to level 25 before I have to fight the second major boss. Run a bit low on potions here, so I'm gonna have to pick some up before I end up hitting the first boss, because he actually requires a huge amount of potions to deal with. Because even though I pick up quite a few levels, I end up being rather underpowered for him, because I'm actually not using my skill points or stat points at all, and I'm not picking up many items to equip myself with. The level layout is incredibly random, even more so than Diablo. Making a single segment kind of a silly idea, but I figured the luck manipulation was not quite enough to warrant only having a segmented run. When I kill a mini-boss, you see a stream of fame numbers that I get, which is an alternate form of leveling you get from mini-bosses or quests, which just gives you a skill point when you reach a new level with it, instead of also giving you stat points. Here I walk away a bit so he'll just die, and I can pick up those potions.
Your fame.
And now I'm picking up the skills Adventurer and Defensive Spell Mastery. The Adventurer one gives me some bonus health and mana when I use potions, and the Defensive Spell Mastery allows my haste spell to make me a bit faster and, much more importantly, last longer. It only lasts 7 seconds without any levels in it, and when I get it to level 10, it'll end up lasting for 27 seconds. With how long it takes to cast spells, it's a huge help. Here I'm a little low on potions, but usually one potion is enough for this guy. I had set my pet to aggressive here to help me out on the damage a little bit. Gonna set him back down to non-aggressive so I can get the damage over time kill on this guy. Coming up is an unskippable cutscene, unfortunately.
Gain in experience.
Just gotta wait for her to walk along, cry about her little boyfriend being dead. Boo-hoo. Then I grab all these items. One of the few chests I actually open and deal with. And your pet can actually equip rings and amulets, but no other items. And now we're moving on to the
miners
next set of levels, undead levels. This is where I pick up most of my experience. It's a bit hard to decide where to pick up the experience here because although the later levels do give a considerable amount more experience, it can take some time and usually more than one hit with the damage over time spell to actually kill them. And as always, killing the mini-bosses is always a good idea. It's one of the major luck manipulations that I have to deal with. Getting a decent amount of mini-bosses and not accidentally critical hitting them to death. Critical hits are my major enemy in the first part of the run and my bestest buddy in the later half. Because you have a base critical hit chance, and although it's very low, it can really screw me over sometimes. And this really isn't an optimal layout because I have to deal with these levers. But everything else went so well, it didn't matter. Got a decent amount of experience here from all those little spiders and skeletons which die with one hit. And here, since I figure I could use some more potions, I kill that guy. And they also have a good chance of dropping gems, which function as they did in Diablo 2. Gems are actually a huge part of this run. I end up using a duping glitch to get enough money for my absurd amount of potion use. And I also dupe them to the highest level so I can actually survive the final boss. Because I end up having extremely terrible gear. So I just try and get as many sockets as I can and pump them full of cold resistance gems. And now we got a little sort of boss here on this level, the Lair of the Sisters. They give a pretty good amount of experience, but they can be pretty annoying because they actually heal each other. Luckily, I end up not having too much trouble with that. I think I get the damage over time kill on all of them. It's a pretty normal level up until you get to these sisters that you have to kill. These lecterns I sometimes find are extremely useful. They sometimes give out spells, and with haste scrolls being the major luck manipulation, they can just completely screw over a run. They're always worth trying to get. I tried to grab that mana potion there, but I gave up very quickly when I realized there would be high HP enemies I would have to deal with. And That was actually a little bit of a misplay, throwing in my pistol instead of my shield or hat or something to try and get sockets. Because after this boss, I actually don't rely on my physical damage at all. I purely use the arrow rain skill to try and kill bosses. I had a really lucky time on this floor, getting a ton of mini bosses to kill and a bunch of potions to keep up my huge drain on HP and mana. Picking up barter there to make the middle of the run shopping segment a little bit less painful. Because I have to get an absurd amount of gold to buy a ton of potions, because I end up just draining mana constantly throughout the later half. And the end boss eats up a ton of health potions. And he can actually just one-shot me if I don't get enough cold resistance. And here's a little dead end that I realized quite quickly and just ditch it after hitting a few enemies with damage over time. And trying not to get too far away, because then the damage over time just stops hitting them. And now we're heading into the boss chamber. We gotta deal with the sisters. And here I go, stabbing her, hoping I don't get a critical hit, because that would just completely screw me over, accidentally killing her. But luckily I just got her. Getting really lucky with potion drops here, just dropping them like candy all over the place. Some runs actually just didn't work out because I ended up running out of potions and having to try and deal with that for boss fights. A lot more running around than should have been done. Luckily this time it all went well. And now we get to the last floor before the real boss. It's just more leveling, trying to hit that level 25. Hitting Hamstring is extremely important because it's basically another haste spell on top of the other ones I pick up. Unfortunately, it's also a constant drain on mana, and more levels in it don't actually increase the movement speed. They just increase the damage it does and the mana cost, so I end up leaving it at level 1. And this room was a mistake to go in. Gotta kill all the enemies and throw off a lever before I can actually move on. But it still gave me a little bit of experience, so it wasn't too bad. And here's the worst mini-boss to try to deal with. He blocks all the time. It's just ridiculous. Takes like even longer to kill him than the huge ogre guy. He just blocks so many times in a row here, it's crazy. And then I accidentally hit him 3 times in a row after that and kill him. The damage over time skill is actually glitched, in addition to giving a ton more experience, making the enemies not drop anything. So it's not too terrible if I accidentally kill an enemy without the damage over time. Pick up a few items that could be useful. And once the bridge is activated, it actually doesn't matter if you're walking on air or not. It's solid as far as hit detection is concerned. And I'm using the stab here to just plow through the enemy so I don't have to deal with waiting for them to die. Because it moves me forward a little bit and can get me through some enemy packed places. And here we go into the boss chamber, I believe. The Overseer's Chamber. This is where I need to absolutely pick up the last level and go back to town for a lengthy shopping bit, which is incredibly important for the last part of the run. You can actually get incredibly unlucky here and end up not getting any mini bosses, but luckily I did get one. And I almost die here, but luckily it's just on easy difficulty, so these early enemies aren't too terrible. Throw off the Tome Portal, wait for him to die, and head back to town. Now I just throw all my points into Dexterity for more damage. I probably could have put a bit more into defense than I did, but luckily I ended up getting enough sockets and ice gems to just deal with it. And here I throw on that copper mace because it gives me that one more critical chance. Advanced spellcasting just gives me some more mana regen. Hamstring is the most important here. Hamstring and Arrow Rain are the ones I'm going to be using constantly. And Critical Strikes increases your critical damage and your critical chance. It's pretty useful. Here I'm just selling some stuff so I can have enough money to buy the proper gem I need.
Take care now.
I got the finest cut gems in Ember.
Basically, that cold ember, or whatever it was, is an absolute requirement. And here I'm using a duping glitch with purchasing an item and just dropping it on an item I already have to just turn it into that item.
Bye-bye.
And instead of a Ordrak cube, you just have this guy over here
See you later.
that can transmute things for you.
Hail.
So just start making the best gem
Fortune smiles
through a ton of transmuting.
smiles on you. Fortune is
But without these gems, I wouldn't be able to supply my mana addiction or live through the final boss without a bunch of deaths.
I can't afford that.
It was actually a pretty silly idea to do this before getting the haste scrolls I need, because this run could have been scrapped after this by not getting the proper items.
journey.
Luckily I did end up getting those haste scrolls though. Here I noticed that I have the wrong ring on my pet, so I just throw it on myself.
Hail. Fortune smiles on you.
Gems have a certain effect on anything but weapon and weapon. So I end up just getting tons and tons of these
Good journey.
cold gems and throwing them into all my armor to get me more cold resistance. And there's the perfect gem, the top right one. So I just started throwing them into all my sockets that I have. And now to just earn up some gold. Because I need an obscene amount of potions. All of the music in Torchlight is done by Matt Uelman of Diablo 2 fame. Diablo fame, I guess. And Runic Games is headed by the Schaefers, who also co-founded Blizzard North, who did Diablo 1 and 2. Torchlight is basically Diablo 3. It's got the actual developers of Diablo 1 and 2 behind it. And of course it's got that Matt Uelman. Here I'm just buying tons and tons of potions. I think maybe that's enough, but nope. I should probably get more. I actually almost run out anyway. I accidentally click on her, but it's not that big of a deal because I need to spend time in town anyway. Gotta pick up all these socketed items, and spending time talking and selling stuff actually doesn't count towards the 30-second timer to not reset the vendors.
Well, hello.
So I have to spend 30 seconds just outside of any menus in addition to the time I spend talking to them. Now I'm popping out and back in so I can get the haste scroll I need for the last part. And also potentially any other good spells I see. I decided to pick up these zombie spells because they can help a tiny bit in the last boss fight. But more importantly, I pick up Haste 5, which gives me 63% faster movement speed. Much better than the 12% the Haste 1 gave. But Haste 1 is still definitely worth it to cast when it lasts 27 seconds. And now I just start speeding through everything. Gotta hit all these braziers to summon the boss. Then I kill him in a few seconds with my way overpowered for this boss skill. Just arrow rain him in ditches drops. He actually dropped something that would let me get infinite life, but I don't want to deal with it. He has a little item that gives a permanent boost to HP, and it's just consumed.
You have gained a task.
But I figure I already spent all that time duping ice gems, it wouldn't be worth it. And now we're on to a little fetch quest. Gotta pick up 3 glyphs and then we can go to the boss. So we just gotta speed through, find the portal, pick up the glyph, go on to the next portal, and then we're on to the boss. This place is pretty forgiving with its paths. It's Doesn't give too many dead ends that aren't obvious. But still not always easy to tell on a single segment because I'm just going so crazy fast. And unfortunately that guy just blocked me in, so I had to kill him. They still give decent experience actually, even though I'm way over leveled for this. Because many bosses just give so much experience. Now we're already onto the second portal. After we picked up that glyph. Unlike before, I'm going to ignore many bosses that aren't directly in my path because although they give good experience, they also take a long time to kill. It's not totally worth it since no bosses except the final boss now will take me too long to kill. This can actually be one of the more annoying levels because of all the loading screens from all these portals. But luckily it's not too long. Now we're on to the final portal and then we'll finally be out of here. Just gotta keep on speeding through. Lecterns are still pretty useful to grab, even though it's a very rare chance to get a haste scroll. But they can be pretty hard to catch when you're just blazing through the levels this fast. Got a wonderful layout that time, just a straight shot to the exit basically. Doesn't happen too often in this area. You also actually get a little bit of airtime off those stairs. This is actually an absolutely terrible thing. If you're going too fast, you can actually just land outside the level and just be screwed. That ended a few runs, actually. It's much worse with multiple haste scrolls, too. Like if I had picked up 3, it would be a lot more dangerous. Here's just a straight shot to the boss, kill him quick, and off I go.
Don't have enough money.
Gained a task.
And now we're on to a new area.
What?
This is one of the it's not too bad, but it can be tricky to find the right way. And back there was a shopkeeper, which I could probably have checked out quickly, see if he had a haste scroll, but I decided to just skip him this time. The real problem with this level is the very tight corridors you get. If there's a mini-boss, you're basically gonna have to kill him. or a tree just being a jerk. Like right here, there's a mini boss just blocking the way. Like I don't got places to go. Well, Mr. Tree, I do have places to go. And here I hit level 26. So I pick up more arrow rain and some more mana regen. And I actually forget to give myself some stats for a little bit. Luckily, we are almost done with this little area. Just got a bit more to go through and then the boss. As you get further down, there's not as many bridges, but there's still a lot of them. Here on the side, might as well check them out. So you got nothing but an amulet, but that gives me some more cold resistance, so it's worth it. Then nothing happens. That occasionally happens with the giants that just do nothing. It's not as bad as it just taking away all my enchantments, though. Those gates are a bit of a pain. Mouse is usually pretty far away from where I actually am, so when I actually hit those gates, it loses a little bit of time. But we're almost done. We're on the boss chamber now. Crazy elemental guy. Some of my zombies actually don't even make it to the boss. And oh no, he's gonna do a big jump attack. And he dies in midair. Oh no.
You have gained a task.
And now we're on to the most dangerous area. But not because of deaths. Here you can actually quite easily just get a little bit out of the map and not be able to get back. Because you're really not supposed to be using multiple haste scrolls and hamstring. It's just really not expected of you. It's pretty much entirely narrow corridors, so it's about as bad as the previous area for that. But it's a bit more obvious where the exit is going to be once you've played around Torchlight a lot. You're picking up some elemental protection, even more insurance against the boss. Because the final boss is actually ridiculously strong compared to the last bosses. Stronger than every other boss in the game combined. Right there at those stairs is where I would usually just zoom on past it and then just sort of a little bit off the map so I can't get back on. I just sort of gave up on that path a little bit to check the other while they sort of spread out a little bit. So I went back after realizing that was the right path. I could just zoom on past him without killing him. And these levels are relatively short because of the pathing being more obvious than the other levels. The dead ends for treasures are more hidden behind levers and such than the others. So this place doesn't take too long on a whole. Unfortunately, I do sometimes get caught on walls and such in this place. Here I get lucky and get a socket in my shield for more resistance. I'm gonna need all that I can get for the last boss. Now I believe it's boss time. This boss is actually a little more in-depth than the others. You're supposed to employ some basic strategy and kill the guys healing him first. I, of course, just ignore all that and kill him with my massive, overpowered damage for this level. But first, check out little items. See how that's doing. Hamstring actually has another effect that makes enemies less resistant to damage, so it's helpful if I ram into them with it first.
You have gained a task.
Now we get to go to the worst place. This is where death is actually possible.
The dwarves.
There's some traps that do high damage to you actually here. Actually, got a nice little enchantment there. Gave me some more defense attribute. Let me live a little bit longer. This place just has a bunch of exploding barrels and such that I can run into. My potions look pretty fine for now, but I'm actually gonna start using a ton more. Because these last levels are pretty long. And the boss fights actually take more than 2 seconds to beat. Luckily, this is actually the easiest place to tell where you're supposed to go while at high speed. Sometimes you can even see the exit from the entrance, which is a huge help. And if I hadn't actually picked up all these shrines of mana, I would have run out of mana potions by the end and picked up like a few minutes because of needing to die to regen my mana or trying to pick up mana potions from the ground in the last area. Mana shrines are absolutely wonderful in Torchlight. They completely refill your mana and make it stay that way for quite a while. So you can just keep on blazing through, no mana loss. And here we get to see me glitch out a little in my movements after this cutscene. This is clearly the best part of the run. Is that glitched out sprite moving fast. And the story of Torchlight is all your little buddies, they all die. And you kill them because they get turned evil. Here there's just tons of levers and ballistas and chests to click, and just ignore them all.
You have triggered a trap.
Now I'm starting to actually not be overpowered anymore for where I am. This is actually pretty rough boss fight for how much HP she has, how much teleporting and running around she does. Zombies actually come in kinda handy here. And her loot is actually worth getting, because she can drop some pretty good items. Unfortunately, I can't use that item. Probably should have kept a few stats, just in case. And I actually completely forget there's no cutscene there, so I open up the escape menu for a second. And now we're on to the last area. These enemies can take a while to kill and they can actually deal some damage to me. So I try to ignore them as much as I can. Getting enchantment shrine starts being a little risky here actually, because if I stay in one place they can actually start really pounding on me. Fortunately, I can't really pick up any potions, which I might be a little in need of. I start getting really low later on. Like that shrine, I tried to get it, but then I just give up once they start closing in on me. As you can see right here, they start really draining my life. See there, when I open it up, I have 318 cold resistance. Which may seem like a little overkill, but the last boss can actually just one-shot me otherwise. And when he's not one-shotting me, he's just draining my HP like crazy. This fight actually glitches out a lot and ends up not triggering right if you're going too fast. It's really annoying. The first time it happened, I spent a couple minutes just wondering how to trigger it. I ended up having to go back a bit and running through a few more times to trigger it. Luckily this time it triggered right away. Luckily that boss fight isn't really a real one, he just dies in a couple seconds like the old bosses. And down here it's just a bunch of gold. Just cost me a couple seconds going down there. But luckily this place doesn't have too many tight corridors, so it's not like I can get stuck for too long. And I almost hit that teleporter, which would have been pretty bad, because those teleporters are pretty much always just do some treasure. This place can get a little confusing when you go in this fast. Kinda hard to tell what is a path to the exit and what's just a dead end for some treasure. There's not as many little clues that you can get in on like the other areas. And also this area is where I end up going the least because most runs would just end before this. Stopping a cast actually is a little bit dangerous now, so I have to try and do it in an area without too many monsters. And there I accidentally hit one of those portals to treasure, so I just pop out quickly as I can. But then I get kind of confused here because there's just more portals. Portals everywhere, man. But then I find the exit, so it's all good. And now we just got tons and tons of enemies. All sorts of places that we've already been. Some spiders, all sorts of things. And we got the final boss here, Master Ordrak. Though actually he's just gonna run away once we get him to a certain HP. Spawn a ton of monsters that we have to deal with. Well, luckily I managed to hit the stairs quick enough that they don't all block it. Now we get to the lair of the final boss. I gotta try and lure him over to this area where the final cutscene will occur. Saves a little bit of time because it automatically starts it once I kill him. But he just doesn't want to follow me. You can see there he really tears apart my HP when he does get to me. Another bonus of going over here is he actually doesn't spawn a ton of monsters to come and get you like he does in his main arena. So I just go hide in a corner and start spamming arrow rain for a few minutes because he has an absurd amount of HP. And I actually have my pet set to aggressive even though he's just gonna die all the time. Just for that little boost of damage. See right there, he knocks me down to like 30 HP in one hit, even though I have all that cold resistance to stop that spell. It's just an absurd boss compared to all the others. One way to speed it up is picking up a dervish spell, but I wasn't lucky enough to pick one of those up. Gives me a nice 30% boost to casting speed. But this boss is practically the only one that actually helps on, so it's not too big of a loss. And getting 2 haste scrolls is actually huge luck manipulation. The game really does not like to give you haste scrolls. And I'm actually down to only 4 mana potions. Which is pretty bad, but I actually end up killing him before I completely run out. Because I realized I actually have a mana potion in my inventory here. Without that I would have had to run around and pick up some more. And now I throw up my journal, which shows the time played, 40 minutes 15 seconds. The boss is dead, game is over. Now I just run to town just in case. Timing stops there later on. But for now, the final boss is the last